Today I'm going to be using a skill that we call externalizing the client's problem, whereby we give the client the ability to give a new name to the problem they're experiencing and move that problem from an inside or an inner reality to an external reality where they can more easily manipulate that thing, gain control over it, and heal and recover um, from the problem that they came to see you for. So the first step in this is to ask the client, what's the name that you'd give to the problem that you've been experiencing? And we want to encourage the client to use a noun. Oftentimes it's what they use. So let's say, for instance, that the client says the word they want to describe the problem is tension. Tension is the way that they experience it. Now, as a therapist, we want to use the client's language. We don't want to replace it with clinical language. We don't want to, because replacing the client's language with clinical language kind of defeats this whole interaction. So, now that we have the name, this tension, now we're going to do some stuff with it, with the client. So, one of the questions you want to ask is, when in the past that you were, had more control over your tension, what were you doing differently? And get the client to study those differences. When you had control over this tension a little bit more, what were you doing? And the next thing you want to ask a client, or another way that, another thing that's useful, is to ask the client to imagine something such as this. Well, imagine that you were going to go at and you were going to attack this tension. What would you do? What weapons would you use to attack it? And the client might laugh at the language. But we want to personalize and personify this problem. And the client says, well, I rub my temples, so I have this tension in my head. What else? What other weapons do you use? Well, when I feel this tension, sometimes I just lay down on my floor and I breathe and I feel my chest rise and fall. Okay. What other weapons do you bring into it? The client says, well, sometimes I pray. And I have a stress ball that my therapist gave me, and I can squeeze that. Okay. And those things are useful when you want to fight off this tension. The client says, oh, yes, it is. Okay. Now, another question that is sometimes useful when the clients present is to ask them, well, how would you fool or deceive or trick this tension? Like, what could you do to deceive it, to fool it, so that it doesn't get the best of you? Well, to fool it, I just have to keep on making sure that I do my work. I don't want to give it too much attention, because if I give it too much attention, then it takes over my day. It makes me more anxious. Okay. So, got to stay focused on your work. Another question that's useful is, how are you going to celebrate your victory once you beat this tension? When you beat this tension and it no longer has any control over you at all, how would you celebrate? Well, when I beat this thing, I guess I'm gonna take myself out for dinner. Maybe I'll invite a friend or my girlfriend and we'll go out to dinner. Okay. Well, that's what you would do. The client starts to get kind of happy at that, the victory. And as we're talking about it being an external problem, it's something that both me, the therapist, and my client can work on together. It's not me fixing my client so much. It's me assisting my client working on or working against or fighting off this external thing. We can work and partner much more easily. Now, the last question that sometimes is of use is to ask the client, how would you make friends with the tension? How would you make friends with this tension, this problem that brought you here? Well, what I'd have to do is I'd have to do my exercises. I do yoga, so that'd be something that I would do. I'd meditate. And I'd want to be eating right and not drinking a lot of alcohol and not drinking a lot of dairy, because that seems to make me have more tension. And I shouldn't drink so much coffee either, especially at work. When I drink lots of coffee at work, I think the tension gets the best of me, and it kind of makes it really, pissed off, and it makes it worse. So by asking these questions, by externalizing the problem, we get a different response from the client, and we're able to better collaborate and work together. So try it with your clients and see. Thanks.